Weird.
When did you know that you didn't want to do it anymore?
Oh, I've known years before that, but I was still being very successful.
Yeah. Like when?
Yeah.
Like what year? Like, do you remember around when you
No, I
started thinking it?
remember. I remember. Probably around, what, the 2000 area?
So by the time that's post-Hope,
Now, listen, let me just get high for a while and figure this out.
that was the plan?
Yeah. Let me party for a while and figure this stuff out.
And it was hard for me to get out after being in there for 20 years. I mean, that's your identity.
Yeah.
You know? And then I just kind of got into trying to be a father, you know, and I was doing that thing, try to be around more. And then all this stuff happened, and I find myself in here. But I do think all the blood, all the tears, all the sweat, all the ups and downs, all the good media, all the bad media, all of that was to prepare me for you know, for this kind of, you know. I see, like, everything that they're going to throw at me, I can kind of see, like, well, I kind of been through that.
Yeah.
20 years, how can I be a better fighter? What's new in fitness? How can I push myself? I want to be the champion, and then boom, you lay the gloves down and you wake up and you're a fucking civilian. Like,
Right.
It feels crazy, you know? It's like I'm relearning who I am. Like, I always knew fighting was just something I did. It wasn't who I was. But after 20 years of doing it, even though you know that and you think that, like, fuck, I don't know who I am without fighting.
How long did it take?
I'm a
before you
father, I'm a
felt-
husband, I'm a lot of things.
Right.
But like, fighting was a cloud in my mind that never went away for 20 years.
Right.
And now I wake up and it's gone. Like, what do I do? I'm still trying to find out, Joe. I don't know.
What is an identity crisis? An identity crisis is a period of intense self-reflection where you question your fundamental sense of self-values and purpose. It often involves a deep feeling of being lost or disjointed, and it can happen during any major life transition. I believe many sports athletes deal with this problem after retirement, but this mostly affects combat sports athletes in a different type of way. Many of these athletes used combat sports as a way to get away. So when you take that fundamental aspect of their lives away from them that they have been engraved in them since they were 6 years old, it kind of, in a sense, devalues their purpose of life, and you kind of have to find an existence after that for fighters. Many fighters get lost in this transition, but try to find any other means to try to find fulfillment. But in these cases, many of these cases tend to use bad methods in order to try to be better. For example, many of these fighters turn into really bad habits, and a lot of the times they turn into substance abuse. When it comes to drinking, hardcore drugs, or stuff like that, this really affects fighters, you know, because a lot of the time they have free time and they don't know what to spend with that time. It's sad to see, because here are some examples of some fighters who do get the itch or talk about getting the itch of wanting to fight back even after retirement.
You know, this is one of the reasons why I did retire.
Hell yeah.
Just trying to fucking work hard like this.
You don't miss it?
Fuck no.
I miss it.
Do you?
Yeah.
What do you miss about it? The workouts? I mean,
I don't know, just like the dopamine rush you get from it.
yeah,
Just like the feel-good feeling of like pushing your body,
yeah,
you know? I miss the camaraderie as well too.
yeah.
You know, like the brotherhood I built doing this stuff with other guys
Yeah.
is irreplaceable, you know?
And I believe every fighter has some sort of itch to come back to fighting, to have one more fight, especially if their body isn't completely destroyed. But sometimes it seems really sad when fighting is taken away from the person, because it seems like it's all their life, you know. And I do find the aspect in some fighters in which they dedicate their whole life to fighting. So after fighting ends, what else is there to do? That's why it's really scary when you see a fighter who retires at a very late age just because of them accumulating damage and how much it's going to affect them in the long-term run. Because in this case scenario, this has people that can't quit fighting has ended up sustaining long-term effects when it comes to either CTE or heavy brain damage. And one example of this, which I don't think it's a very funny subject, is the BJ Penn situation, in which he has taken severe brain damage in which he believes that his family is CIA agents going after him. Or which, after Conor McGregor's retirement, he switched to heavy substance abuse. He started using the white stuff, if you know what I mean. But you can tell when he was doing certain interviews and certain movie shoots that he was on that stuff. And it's really sad how when some fighters have a lot of money, they can really quickly get into really bad habits that can affect the long term of their career and even their marriage. Another example, and honestly is the main reason why I made this video, is Dustin Poirier. Because after he retired from the UFC, he's talked about his struggles of having to do life after retirement. He's even talked about publicly on how alcoholism and fighting, and not fighting, is one of the issues that led him into a deep depression. Now, just like the other people mentioned in this video, he was also involved in controversy in which he was seen drunk at an airport shouting racial slurs to security and the police, and then he had to be handcuffed and escorted out of the area and taken to the police station. It's sad because I believe in this scenario that these fighters are in, the only way that they could get help from this is to find someone in a similar situation with him and try to talk about their issues and what they try to do to spend their time post-retirement. Not to mention, even in the video shown, Mike Tyson, the boxing GOAT, I wanted to mention him because he's also a prominent figure that talks also about the struggles of retirement. When he first retired, the only thing he could even think about retirement or what to do, so he literally talked about wanting to do a large amounts of substance abuse. That is very unfortunate, obviously, but he wanted to do that just so he can get his mind off things and not think about the struggles of life and what's the purpose of life, what is it? That's the issue, right? Because their whole life they've been busy dedicating their life to this one skill, which is either boxing or UFC, and now that you take that away from them, they have to find a new purpose. And it's different from other jobs and other job sectors in which you work until you're 60 or 70 and then you retire and then you just live out your life until you die. But in this scenario, in sports athletes, you retire at the age of around 35, 36, 37, and then you have your whole life, a whole another 30 to 40 years to live. And a lot of fighters find a struggle, even with a lot of money, they find a struggle to find that fulfillment. But I think it's even harder for some UFC fighters, especially ones who don't make as much money, because UFC is the only thing that can make them money, but they're not making as much money to comfortably retire. So a lot of the times the UFC fighters are in a cycle in which they fight until they're really old, really old and too old, in which they accumulate too much damage and they just have a lot of brain damage when they get older. And it's really bad, and it's really unfortunate to have to see through some fighters, and it's very evident to know, especially when they talk in their press conferences, before and after, when they were younger and when they're older. It's really sad to see how much they deteriorate over time. I mostly made this video in order to spread awareness, because even though what a lot of these fighters did were really bad and unjust, I believe that there has to be some side in which someone tells why they're going through, because when you see online, you just see them hating on them, and obviously justifiably so, because some of their actions are really bad, but at least they need to have an outlet for them to talk about their struggle and why they're dealing with this, because people just laugh and point fun and instead they don't talk about the issues and why they're dealing with this and why they lash out at either the public or on themselves or their family members. The thing is, which is really sad about these cases, is they are actively trying to do things to distract themselves from the identity crisis of being a nobody, how Dustin Poirier described it, as being a regular civilian. Even with families, even with businesses, even with friends, to distract them from the identity crisis of not being a fighter anymore. The void still lingers in their hearts.